Hello, everyone. My name is Reverend Nick Bullitt, and I'm so excited to be sitting here today talking with Sarah Bowen. And we are here to discuss, she has an upcoming workshop. It's called Spiritual Rebel, and we're very excited about that upcoming workshop. And Sarah, we just love to hear about your background, what you're up to in the world, and welcome.
Thank you, Nick. I'm super excited to talk to you all about Spiritual Rebel. It's based on a book that was just published in June. And so I'm just coming off a nice book tour, and a wonderful place to end it is in a full day workshop at OneSpirit in January.
Oh, that's
Um,
great. Can you share what was your inspiration behind Spiritual Rebel? Where did that name come from?
well, it came from my dissatisfaction with the word spiritual, but not religious. Right?
Hmm.
So I had people that would often ask me, like, well, what are you? Right? What, especially after I was ordained and went through the One Spirit process, like, what's your religion? What are you? And I couldn't answer it. And I had been using this term spiritual but not religious. And I was speaking at a recovery conference, and I identified myself that way. And a woman came up to me afterwards and she said, I loved your talk, but I need to let you know how it feels to me when you say spiritual but not religious, because I'm religious. And so what does that mean? Because you don't call yourself a redhead, not a blonde. You don't call yourself white, not black. You don't speak in these kind of dualities, but you are in religion. And I went, oh my God, I am. There are these new terms out there. We've gone from not being nuns, as we used to be categorized, right? I don't think we're nuns, we're alls, because we're pulling from all these different places.
Oh, that's interesting.
Spiritually fluid, the spiritual gangster, which doesn't quite work for me, but all these different ways of identifying.
Yes, exactly. If you could share a little bit more about what excites you in your day-to-day life, like what sparks joy in your life?
I think it's very simple things for me, and it may sound odd, but I'm a little odd. The first is
That's okay.
squirrels. I love squirrels. I live in the Hudson Valley. We have squirrels outside of our house, and even just this morning, they stopped outside this window, and they stopped on the tree, and they looked at me, and I looked at them, and my husband walked in and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Meditating with squirrels." And he looks at me and says, "Really?" And they're still, and I'm still, and for 5 minutes, there we are, right? This interspecies connection, and I'm stopping my day and my frazzled this, that, and the other. So squirrels always remind me of that busyness and then that stop. And
Yeah.
it's a little thing I used to ignore, right? It's a little thing I used to ignore. The other thing, which is a bit interesting as well, is I think the universe or God or divinity or whatever word we use for that, I have 200 I've collected in the back of Spiritual Rebel, right? Whatever word we use, speaks to me through pop culture. And so I am an aspiring Jedi, as
Yeah.
well as belonging to a synagogue and a UU church and a whole host of other things, right? I love looking into these stories of Harry Potter, of Dune, of Star Wars, of Game of Thrones, and how can we look at those archetypes and how can we look at these new modern narratives and pull from them to influence our lives. And what I love about One Spirit is they were able to see for me and to help kind of grow that idea that sacred wisdom and pop culture don't need to be diametrically opposed. They
Right.
can be together. And that's part of what we'll be doing in the workshop too, is kind of digging into that.
Things, and there are a lot of lessons that can be told in that. So that's exciting that your workshop is delving into a little bit of that.
It is, and I think it's relevant for people. So I have a lot of conversations with people, especially very young people,
Mhm.
who may be turned off by the word clergy or religion or even spirituality. And I start to talk to them about, well, what do you believe? What pops around in your head? And this Star Wars thing pops up all the time, and they'll say something like, well, I believe in the Force. And it's an opening to be able to say, all right, let's talk about the Force. And do you know about Tao and prana and chi and Holy Spirit and all these different versions, right, of what that thing is? But what's interesting about coming out of a pop culture narrative is it isn't as loaded as some of our other things are,
Right.
right? And it's something that touches us at a very, very young age. I was 6 when the first movie came out for Star Wars.
Hmm.
And it touched me in a deep way of understanding that my choices have consequences, and that I need to think about what I'm doing and what's motivating me. And am I headed this way or am I headed this way? And then I can layer other religions and sacred traditions on top of that. But it's something that's very much in my DNA. And I find those of us of a certain generation, it's part of our spiritual path, right? So rather than toss it out, let's get that in the mix. Let's look at that.
What would be the one takeaway that your audience would receive from taking your workshop?
I think that the workshop is designed for curiosity. So we're going to dive into things like, what does VR and AI, artificial intelligence, look like in spirituality? Can we work with our tech in a way where we don't say tech here, spirituality here? What's going on in modern spaces, right? Because a lot of us have great depth of knowledge in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're really going to be looking at is, what does that future look like? And how can we be part of that? How can we help bring spirituality to everything that we do all day? Instead of saying, this is my spiritual life and this is my other life.
Yes, yes, wow. Well, thank you. I want to thank you so much, Sarah Bowen. Thank you so much for joining us. Very excited for your upcoming workshop, Spiritual Rebel, and thank you.